What's happening, guys? We're back here again today. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys as always for stopping in. So on today's video, we're going to be going over 5 things you need to know before you go to stage 2 on your MQB car. Before we get started, make sure if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date for more projects, more content on the A3 build. So first things first, you need to decide if you're going to be running the low output version or the high output version for stage 2 software. If you decide to run the high output version for maximum gains, you also need to make sure you pick up the DSG tune. This is going to give you enough clutch clamping pressure to prevent your transmission from slipping. Now, of course, if you're not ready to buy the TCU software just yet, you can also run the low output version, which of course you'll make less power, but you're not going to be putting as much stress on the transmission. In my experience, based on modifying this car for the past 2 years, I would say you're going to have the best performance, the best drivability, combining the ECU tune as well as the TCU tune at the exact same time. Now, something else to take into consideration when going with your stage 2 software is there are some different performance settings that you can change at the time of software install. One of them being the Kickdown feature. If you take a look at your gas pedal and you go ahead and put it all the way to the floor, if you keep applying a little bit more pressure, you can feel a click at the bottom of the travel of that gas pedal. So this factory feature is basically designed to force the lowest possible downshift. So I'm not particularly a big fan of the Kickdown feature just because when you put the car over into manual mode, let's say you're in 3rd gear, you go ahead and hammer the gas, you want to go ahead and wind it all the way out, you're getting ready to bang that shifter into 4th, and then all of a sudden you get this unexpected downshift and it puts you down into 2nd. I don't think this is really the best way to go about it, but of course that is up to the person if you decide you want to enable or disable that feature. Now, another reason that you would not want to enable the Kickdown feature is because if you get to a point where you want to put your car on a dyno to go ahead and do a pull, and the person operating the dyno, let's just say they're in 4th gear, they're getting ready to go wide open throttle, they go ahead and hammer the gas, and then all of a sudden the car wants to force itself to downshift into 3rd, that's going to be very disruptive for your car when it's strapped down to a roller. And of course, you're not going to get an accurate dyno reading because you need to be in 4th gear. So take that into consideration when you go ahead and decide to enable or disable the Kickdown feature. So the next feature we're going to be talking about is, of course, everyone's favorite, and that, of course, is the Crackle Tune. Now, if this is totally not your cup of tea, if you don't want aggressive, loud snaps and pops, you can disable this completely. From there, you also have 2 options for different variations of pops and bangs. You can either go with the lighter, more subtle version of the pops and bangs, or you can go with the aggressive version. Of course, the tone is going to really depend based on your exhaust setup. If you guys are running catless downpipes, resonator deletes, muffler deletes, I can assure you the aggressive pops and bangs file is going to be massively aggressive. So personal preference, totally up to you, whatever you think you can tolerate. At this point in time on my A3, I am running the aggressive pops and bangs file, and it's pretty hilarious. But I will say, because of the Miltech exhaust, it still has that very large suitcase muffler. It's still not that loud. Okay, it's still pretty loud. Now, something else you definitely want to be aware of when moving into stage 2 software, and that of course is going to be your spark plug service intervals. It is recommended that you run a set of spark plugs that is going to be 1 heat range colder than your OEM plugs. This is very important to make sure that your car does not misfire, that you don't have pre-ignition or detonation problems when running more boost, as well as more cylinder pressure from the aftermarket tune. If you do need more specific information as far as gap specs as well as service intervals for your spark plugs, you can always find that information on the tuning company's websites. I've always been happy with the NGK RS7 spark plugs, which again, 1 heat range colder than your OEM plugs. And of course, I do change them every 10,000 miles, and I haven't had any problems. So definitely make sure you stay on top of your maintenance when it comes to your ignition. Now, lastly, one other important thing I want to talk about when it comes to stage 2 software is the process of passing inspection. Now, of course, you guys got to keep in mind, inspection laws can be different depending on where you live. In my experience, I've had this car for a couple years, and I've gone through the inspection process twice, running the aftermarket downpipe with stage 2 software. Now, most stage 2 software is designed to disable the readiness monitors for your catalyst as well as your oxygen sensor. Now, the purpose of this is to ensure that your car does not throw a check engine light for running an aftermarket downpipe. Now, in most cases, to get around this, you're actually going to need to flash your car back to stock, so then you can bring it into the inspection station to then pass. Now, once that's completed, you can go ahead and reflash your car with your stage 2 software. Now, if you were to try to take the car with the aftermarket downpipe, with the stage 2 software, to your inspection station to pass, more than likely you are automatically going to fail because most states are not going to allow you to have both of those readiness monitors disabled. So I know that's a little bit complicated. Sometimes that can be a little bit of a headache, just the process of going back and forth. So definitely something important to keep in mind, guys. If the state you live in does require vehicle inspection, that is just something to be aware of. I've had my car stage 2 for 2 years now, and I've gone through the inspection process twice. And each and every time, I didn't have a problem passing. Everything went well, just as it should. But like I said, you had to flash the car back to stock, bring it into pass, bring it on back, and then reflash the stage 2. So guys, I hope you find this video helpful. Important things you need to be aware of before you go stage 2. Thank you guys so much as always for watching the video. I appreciate all the support. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe for more. I will see you guys in the next one.